This service is called No Excuses, okay? And as a reach, has declared the year 2014 as the year of no excuses. You might ask, what do you mean by that, Naresh? It means as a youth ministry, we are going to do everything God has put in our hearts. We are not going to give any excuses for not doing it. I believe we are going to reach many souls this year. Right? I believe we are going to start many new connect groups. We are going to have the Generation Youth Camp. How many of you are excited about that? We're going to have Generation Youth Camp in August. We are going to we are going to make Reach more friendly and a place accepted anyone from any background. We are going to impact the society that we live in. We will not give any excuses. When God tells us, we go. Right? That's why we call this year the year of no excuses. Now, this is not only for Reach, I believe. As we were waiting on the Lord and asking, Lord, what do you want us to do, or what do you want you to do in the lives of our young people? I heard from God. Almost 1 month I was sitting at God's feet asking, Lord, what do you want to do in the young lives of our Reach ministry? What do you have in store for them next year? And I absolutely, certainly, positively sure about what I'm going to say right now. He wanted you to live a life without excuses. He said, Naresh, young people need to live a life without excuses. If they begin to live a life without excuses, they will reach their potential. And I truly believe this theme is not only for Reach, but this theme is your personal theme. And I want you to understand what you mean by living a life without excuses. We want to see your potential being released this year. We want to see you fighting a good fight with your faith journey. We want to see you moving into the areas that you have been procrastinating for years. We want to see you breaking new grounds in every area of your life. We believe if you join together, and if you also allow God to be with us, we can live a life without excuses. And it's possible, guys. Right? So I'm inviting you to go a journey with me, with Reach, with us. I'm inviting you. I'm inviting all of you in this place. Right? And if you're saying after hearing the message, if you're saying, yes, that's what I want to see. I want to be part of what is happening in this place. I want you to, just make a commitment to be with us and going on this journey this year, so that you will see what God will do through your life. Are you ready to move forward in your life? Are you ready? Are you ready to move forward in your life? Are you ready to get out of defeat without giving any more excuses? Are you ready to step into a new dimension of living? If you are, then I want you today to prepare your heart to receive what God has in store for you. So I humbly ask you not to get distracted or disturb anyone around you. Because this might be the day that you've been waiting for all your life, and it has arrived. And God is going to do something amazing in this place. So let God work in this place. Let God work in this place. Let us open ourselves to the work of God. Will you say this evening with me, Lord, speak to me. Lord, speak to me. Your son, daughter is listening. Will you say this evening, Lord, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you and you alone. Slap your neighbor and say, God is going to speak to you. Yeah, I mean it, okay? Slap your neighbor and say, God is going to speak to you. Okay, guys, I want to say something before, we proceed. Okay, this night is going to be a little bit longer than usual, okay? We're going to allow after the message, we're going to just take time to pray for all of you guys. We're going to allow the Spirit to move. So don't rush out. If your parents are coming to pick, you might tell them that they can't pick you tonight. I don't know what you're going to say, but whatever, right? But you're going to be here for a while, okay? You're going to be here for a while, so don't rush out, because we're going to see a move of God in this place, okay? I don't know about you guys, but growing up as a teen and then into my adulthood, I always procrastinated. That's my pastime hobby, okay? And with most of the things that I need to do, I just procrastinated, okay? I remember every time when I need to do an exam, it was always last few days. It was always last few days that I wait for it and then I get into studying, right? I failed many exams not because I'm stupid. I failed many exams because I procrastinated. I put off things and I wait until the last minute, right? Somehow when there was something to be done, my mind kept saying, you can do it tomorrow. You can do it tomorrow. I ended up doing the urgent thing and left the important things undone. Because of procrastination, other people ended up running my life than me being in control of my life. Right? If someone asks me today, if you can go back to your teen life and make one correction, what would that be? I would say, I will stop procrastination. I will stop giving excuses. If only I would have lived a life without giving excuses, without procrastinating, I would have achieved much more in life than what I have achieved today. Few excuses that I always give comes to my mind, and they are like, first thing is I can't be bothered, and the second thing is I'm too tired. Can't be bothered, I'm too tired. I used to spend all my time hanging out with my friends, doing some fun things, right? And just put off everything else that needs to be done. I don't like to do the hard work like studying or working out or going to a gym or even reading or working out, like rather praying or even reading the Bible or doing a sport or developing a skill. All these things I just don't want to do because they're too hard, right? I would love to do the easy thing, and that's to hang out with my friends all the time. Guess what? Most of the people I hang out with 10 years ago, they're not in my life anymore. Most of the people I hang out with 10 years ago, they're not in my life anymore. But the consequences of my procrastination and consequences of my excuses still follows me. Still follows me. I have to pay for it. Okay? When we are young, we always want to have fun. It's all about fun. At any cost, it's all about fun. And if anything doesn't fall into the category of fun, then we don't want to do that. Studying is not fun, so we don't want to do that. Working out is not fun, so we don't want to do that. Eating is not fun. I'm sorry. We did a kind of a research and then found out top 10 excuses that young people give. We didn't do the research, Google did it for us. And the number one is I'm too busy. Number two is it's probably will be more difficult than it's worth. Number three, I don't want to be a burden to anyone. Anyone can identify with that? Number four is I should be able to figure this out myself. I don't need help. Number five, I can't trust people. They are like, I can't trust people, okay? Number six, no one knows this situation. Nobody has gone through it. I'm the only one who is going through it. No one can tell me what to do with it because no one knows what I'm going through. Number seven, where can I find real experts? Number eight, what I change into might be worse than where I started. Number 9, it's not a big of a deal. Number 10, it would not make a difference anyway. So our excuses for not doing something have consequences, like I said. Listen to me very carefully, this statement. I want the statement to come up on the screen. And it says, the excuses you give today will determine the quality of your life you will live tomorrow. I'm going to give some time to, for this thought to sink into your mind. Okay? The excuses you will give today determine the quality of life you will live tomorrow. Today, for example, if you give excuses for your studies and procrastinate, that will eventually leading you to failing an exam. If you fail the exam, then you won't be able to do a professional qualification. And if you're not professionally qualified, you won't be able to find a job, in a professional level. You will find a job in an entry level. If you find a job in entry level, then your pay will be less. And mentally you're not even satisfied with, what you're doing. You know you're much more capable than what you're doing already, but you don't have the paper qualification to prove that you are able. So you ended up living a life less than what you are able to. Now that's one example. If you give excuses to try new things out, at this stage of life, very specially as teens, you will not be able to find out all the hidden talents in you. If you are always someone sticking to your comfort zone and doing the things that you are always comfortable at, then you will miss out some of the amazing gifts that God has put in your life because you're not willing to step out of the comfort zone. And what happens? If you don't know your talents, you may end up picking a line of education or career that is not in line with your potential, not in line with your abilities. And that will make you to become a mediocre eventually for the rest of your life. Guys, I hope you're getting my point. The excuses that you make today will determine the life or determine the quality of life that you're going to live tomorrow. What if you give excuses for your spiritual disciplines like reading the Bible, pray, attend church on a regular basis, being part of a small group, and you keep giving excuses saying that I don't have time, I have this and I can't be bothered, all that, and then what happens? When you are not in touch with what God is doing, when you are not in touch with the Word of God, when you are not in touch with Christian friends, eventually your life will be impacted by the non-Christian friends in your school, wherever you are. And their lifestyle will begin to rub into your lifestyle. Eventually you will make poor choices in life. Poor choices like getting into addictions like alcohol, addictions like pornography, and eventually you will ruin your life. Excuses that you make today will determine the quality of life that you're going to live tomorrow. Have I got through to you? Or do you want more examples? When we ask this question, for example, can you see how the excuses you make today will determine the quality of your life tomorrow? Can you see that now? Right? If making excuses is so detrimental to our future, then how do we live a life without excuses? $1 million question. Right? When we ask this question, we normally tend to look inwardly. We normally look into ourselves and we think the answer is within us. And few things that people have said when you ask this question are given, I'm going to spell it out, 3 things at least. If you can work hard and live a disciplined life, then you can get out of giving excuses. How many of you agree with that? If you can work hard and live a life of discipline, then you can get out of giving excuses. Number 2 things that some others say is you need to be mentally and emotionally strong to live a life without excuses. How many of you, agree with that? And still others say, you need to think positive And that will help you to live a life without excuses. You can't be a negative person. You can't be thinking negative. You can't be talking negative. You have to be a positive person to live a life without excuses. How many of you agree that? Okay. None of you agreed on anything, so I hope that you're going to agree at some point. By the way, all 3 points are over, so there's nothing for you to agree with me anymore. Okay, all these are valid answers, by the way. But you can't achieve these things by looking inwardly. If you can do so, then by now, most of you would have fixed this area in your life. Am I right? Am I right? But the reality is that most of us haven't been able to find an answer by looking within. Today I'm going to talk about some men who lived their lives without giving any excuses. They never gave excuses. They lived extraordinary life. And I'm going to talk about few of their names right now. How did they live such life? The only way to live a life without excuses is to not look inwardly, but look outwardly. You need to turn your eyes towards Jesus. That's the only way that you will be able to live a life without excuses. Let's read Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witness to the life of faith, I'm going to stop there. The verse starts by saying, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witness to live the life of faith. And these are the men that, I was saying, lived a life without giving any excuses. And their names are mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11. I would ask you to go back home and, read 11. But I'm going to mention few names anyway. The first guy that, Hebrews 11 talks about is Abel. Abel, who offered a better sacrifice than his brother Cain, because he wanted to give the best to God. No excuses hold him back the best. He gave the best to God and he became a man of faith. The second name that Hebrew mentions is Enoch, who wanted to please God in every way. No excuses given whatsoever. No compromise made. He lived a life that was pleasing absolutely, to the point one day he just disappeared. Just like that. He's gone. He's been picked by God. Right? No excuses whatsoever. The third person that Bible talks about is when everyone around him, when they were giving excuses and living a life with compromise, Noah heard from God to build an ark. And while others would have given excuses not to build it because they hadn't seen rain in their whole life, right? That's a good reason to give an excuse. Noah built the ark without giving any excuses, and that's why you and I are alive today on this earth. Thank God for Noah. Right? And that man lived a life without any excuses. Then it talks about Abraham was called by God to leave his family, countries, familiarities, everything, to start a new nation. And he didn't give any excuses to say, Lord, this is too hard. I can't leave my family. I can't leave my country. I can't leave my familiar surrounding. Lord, this is too hard. He never gave excuses. He just, took off as he heard from God. And he went wherever God led him. Eventually, he became the father of our faith. And today, we are having Christ because our faith, our father of our faith is Abraham. What about Sarah? Was told in her 90s that she will bear a child. Her womb is dead. Right? Her womb is dead. And there is no way this can happen naturally. But she eventually, earlier she had some doubts, but eventually she took it without giving any excuses. And it happened. Pastor Colton left Kandy, a thriving small church, to come to Colombo without giving any excuses, while he didn't know where even he's going to stay the night when he come to Colombo. He didn't have any contact. He didn't know anybody in Colombo. When he was living Kandy, he only knew that God has spoken. No excuses were given for him to stay back in Kandy. He came down with his children, and you know the story. If you don't know the story, buy a book. It's $200, $500 now. It's gone up in price. That's how our economy is doing at the moment. He never gave and that's why we have this church today, people. Because he never gave excuse. He never gave an excuse. Most of the people didn't even see the promise that God gave to them, these men and women I'm talking about, being fulfilled through their lives. But they never gave an excuse. They lived recklessly, like Pastor Colton says. They all had one thing in common. The one thing in common, and Hebrews chapter 11 verse 27 put it so beautifully. I love this verse. Let it read. It was by faith that Moses left the land of Egypt. He was not afraid of the king. Moses kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. Because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. The secret to living a life without excuses is keeping our eyes on the invisible. Keeping our eyes on the invisible. You know, one trademark about all these men of faith is that they all look to God. That's the only thing that they saw, nothing else. They were looking to God and they were able to do extraordinary things. Let's go back to chapter 12 verse 1. Chapter 12 verse 1. Okay, so these are the men of cloud of witness that we have. Let us strip off, not your clothes, every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. This is a language of athletes. Go back to verse 1. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. I believe when this verse says, let us strip off every weight, that weight, I believe that weight is excuses. Can you change that weight to excuses and read with me? Let us strip off every excuses that slows us down. That slows us down. Let us strip off every excuses that slows us down. Guys and girls, listen to me carefully. In your life, what's slowing you down is nothing but the excuses that you're giving every day. Every day the excuses that you're giving is slowing you down. And I want to tell you, sometimes these excuses are not sinful things. But because you keep giving those excuses, it's slowing you down. It's not taking you where you need to go. So you need to definitely get out of the excuses. Stop giving excuses. Not only just stop giving excuses, but then the verse continues to tell us, especially the sins that so easily trips us up. You know, some of us, we get into sins, and not some of us, all of us as young people, we are in sins, but we give excuses why we can't get out of them. We give excuses why we can't get out of them. You say that, what's wrong with it? Everyone else is doing it. Or you might say, come on, this is the trend, guys. Come on, don't be so legalistic. Or you might say, I'm born with it. This is a generation thing that coming down and I can't get out of it. I can't do anything about it. I'm a victim. Or you might say, come on, it's only for a period of time. I'm a teen, or I'm young only for a while, and once I am, past this stage, I will get out of it. And you keep giving excuses for the sins that that is going to trip you off at some point. In other words, it's going to stop the walk. Stop the journey. Stop the journey God is taking you in. The things that stop you from going where God wants you to go is the sin. Sin is missing the mark of God in your life. You know what is God's mark. You know what you're supposed to do. And when you miss that mark, that is what the Bible refers to as sin. And when you keep missing the mark over a period of time, you will come to a dead end. Your walk eventually stops. And this is why it's so important that we need to do something about it. We need to get out of it. We need to move forward. That's very, very important, guys. We need to have the attitude of an athlete who exercise regularly to reduce the body fat, to make him or her more flexible and faster. Also, on the day of the race, they make sure to put on the minimum amount of clothes on their body. They wear the light shoe to reduce all the weight in the body so that they can run faster. And that's the mentality a Christian young person should have in his or her life. We should be every day asking the question, what is slowing me down? What is stopping me going the journey all the way? What is making me tripping this journey? What is going to, stop my journey with God? And I need to figure out those things, and I need to deal with God. I need to look to God, and I need to ask God to help me to get out of those things so that my run will become faster. My journey will become faster. I will move with God to everything God has in store for us. So how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we get rid of sin that hinders moving forward? How do we get rid of excuses in our lives? The answer is found in Hebrews chapter 12 verse 2. I love this verse. We do this by what is we do this what? Living a life without excuse. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus. Oh. Guys, you cannot get out of your own sin. If you're trying, you would have figured that out. You cannot live a life without giving excuses. You know that. The only way, I'm sure that none of you would have even figured this out up to now. Only way that you can enter into that life, that you will move into another level of living, is by doing this. Keeping our eyes on Jesus. Who is Jesus? He is the champion who initiate and perfect our faith. He is the champion and initiator of our faith. It clearly tells us that we can do this only keeping our eyes on Jesus. I want to give a statement that will, I hope this statement will, you will remember for the rest of your life. That's my prayer. Let's have the statement coming on the screen. What do you think about it? When you fix your eyes on Jesus, He fixes your excuses. When you fix your eyes on Jesus, He will fix your excuses. He is the one who can fix your excuses. No one else can do that. And you need to do only one thing and one thing alone, and that is to fix your eyes on Jesus. Earlier we looked at men and women who have fixed their eyes on God and lived a life without giving excuses. But the champion of them all is Jesus Christ. He never gave an excuse why things can't be done. When he told his disciple to feed the 5,000 people, they came up with an excuse. We have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, 1 boy's lunch. How can we feed the 5,000 people? He said, I'm not willing to take an excuse. You bring the 5 loaves, you bring the 2 fish. I will multiply and I will feed 5,000 men. That means 15,000 people, and you will take 12 baskets remaining to your houses. No excuse with Jesus. He went to a wedding and the wine ran out. It's a disgrace for the family. Family comes up to Jesus and tells him, Jesus, wine is over. What are we going to do? He asks, what do you have? Water. Water is not an excuse to turn into wine for Jesus. He turned the water into wine because He is not going to take an excuse. Do you want another one? He goes to Martha and Mary's house. He was invited because their brother is sick. While he was going, it took 3 days. By the time he reached there, their brother Lazarus is dead. Come on guys, death is a good excuse. And they came up to Jesus and said, Jesus, if you would have come 3 days before, only 3 days before, when my brother was alive, you could have prayed for him, you could have healed him, healed his sickness, and he wouldn't have died. He said, what? Do you want me to take death as an excuse? No way. No way. For me, even the death is not an excuse. I will not take anything as an excuse. And that's the one who is your God. He is the one who you need to fix your eyes on. I'm certain this evening you're convinced enough to fix your eyes on this Jesus, because he didn't take even death as an excuse. When you fix your eyes on Jesus, he fixes your excuses. Do you want to see this thing working out in real life, in someone else's life? Do you want to see it? How many of you want to see it? It's working out in someone's life. Okay, turn with me to Matthew chapter 14 verse 28. Then Peter called to him, Lord, if it is really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water. Now this is not normal. It's a supernatural thing. And Jesus said in verse 29, yes, come. Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat and walked past tense. Notice that walked. He walked on the water towards Jesus. He walked on the water towards Jesus. Let's go to the next verse 30. But when he saw the strong wind, what happened? What happened here? When he was walking on the water, his eyes was on Jesus. He was just looking to Jesus while he was walking on the water. He was able to do the supernatural thing because his eyes was fixed on Jesus. And he was able to walk on the water because his eyes is always on Jesus, not on the circumstances, not on the situations, not even in the natural physics. But then when he saw the strong wind, when he took off his eyes from Jesus and put his eyes on the situations, when he put his eyes on circumstances, what happened? Began to drown. Now it's working out in a real life. It's working out in a real life. This concept working out in a real life. I really believe this was a revelation given by God to us for this ministry, guys. I believe if you today catch the revelation that God is showing you, and you are saying, I am going to just take this and put it into practice, I'll tell you, I can't even imagine where your life will go. Because Jesus said, you will do greater things than I have done. Can you imagine a thing that Jesus didn't do? And you will be able to do more than that? Can you imagine a thing? I can't imagine. But he said, if he said, it's possible. All you got to do is to fix your eyes on Jesus, guys. When you fix your eyes on Jesus, he will fix your excuses. So how does keeping our eyes on Jesus in our day-to-day life look like? You might ask that, right? Now tell me, Naresh, come down to my level of living and tell me how this is going to pan out in my day-to-day life. Okay? When we fix our eyes on Jesus, we are not relying on our understanding or on our strength or on our ability. Instead, we rely on Jesus to come through in situations. Right? We rely on Jesus' strength. When we are weak, we rely on Jesus' strength. When things don't make sense, we depend on Jesus' understanding. And it becomes absolutely a Jesus-centered life. And that's how you live out this. Okay, let me come down one step and give you a practical life example. When you or somebody in your family is going through some difficult situation that has been there for a long time. Now this situation is being there for a long time and it's just continuing. There is no end to it. And almost everyone in the family has come to the conclusion it can't be changed. So we say, I can't be bothered about this situation anymore. I'm going to come to terms with it and say that, I'm going to live with it. But if you fixed your eyes on Jesus, and then you will have a different mindset. And the mindset will be like this: I will trust in the Lord and I will never lean on my own understanding. I will acknowledge him in all my ways and he will make my path straight. It's a different mindset altogether. My natural inclination to this situation is that it's not going to work out. But I'm not going to rely on my natural instinct. I'm going to rely on God. Because with God, the Bible says, all things are not possible. I can keep going on. No one is going to correct me. The Bible says with God, all things are possible. All things are possible with God. Let me give you another situation. You would have been in a relationship. It hasn't worked for you. Now you are really broken and shattered. You took your eyes off from Jesus and fixed your eyes on relationship. That became everything for you. Now you need to look back at Jesus. You need to change the situation. You need a breakthrough in your life. And Jesus said, come to me, I will give you water that you will never thirst again. I will give you water that you will never thirst again. I will give you living water that will satisfy you. It can satisfy you more than that relationship. It can satisfy you more than anything else in your life. I have the living water. I'll give it to you. So when you fix your eyes on Jesus, even though that you have had a terrible relationship, and even your boyfriend or girlfriend has said some nasty things about you, and they have crushed your identity, you look to Jesus and ask, what does Jesus tell about me? He tells, I formed you in your mother's womb. I named you. I numbered your hairs. And I have a plan and a purpose for your life. You are my daughter. Somebody needs to hear this. I believe in this place. You are having such a low self-esteem. You need to hear this. Jesus is saying tonight, you are my daughter. Don't sell yourself too short. Like Esau did in Hebrew 12, as you keep reading down, it says Esau actually sold his birthright for a cup of soup. And some of us today selling our valuable possessions that God has invested in our lives for a cup of soup, a temporary thing, a temporary pleasure, a moment pleasure, and you're selling everything that God has put in your life. Hey, come back and realize what God has done in your life. It's not too late. Don't sell yourself too short. Don't sell yourself too short. What about your studies? You're not doing well. People have repeatedly told you that you're not good at studies. Now you have believed that you are not good at studying. So you have this excuse, I can't be bothered anymore to study because everyone has said and I've tried and it's not going to work out. I'm not good at it anyway. But if you fix your eyes on Jesus, that's how it's going to change. The Bible tells you, if you ask wisdom from God, He will never find fault with you. He will give you freely. If you fix your eyes on Jesus, while everyone else is saying that you are not good at studies, you will fix your eyes on Jesus. You will say, Jesus, you told me that if you ask for wisdom, that you will not find fault with me, but you will give me freely. All I got to do is to believe you that you can do that. And I'm believing you right now, you can do that. Give me the wisdom that I need. I want to prove every person in my life that they're wrong. And I can study. I can study. Because I'm your son, I'm your daughter. And that's how it will look like if you have fixed your eyes on Jesus. So you can see how, this life can work. You can work it out without giving excuses anymore if you fix your eyes on Jesus.